Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are. Zanu PF rigged the 2023 elections. That is a fact, a historic fact. And this time it's not just the Americans or their Western allies who are saying it. This time, SADC, the regional body, the AU, the continental body, and even our own Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission election observers dismissed those 2023 elections as flawed and illegitimate. I mean, they were so blatantly rigged. Per se, therefore, Zanu PF is an illegitimate regime. And I think that point, we need to keep reminding this regime of that. Because their arrogance now is overflowing to the point of pretending that they represent the people of Zimbabwe. They speak on behalf of the people of Zimbabwe. They are doing things in the interest of the people of Zimbabwe. They are not. Free, fair, and credible elections are more than just a basic right. They encapsulate the very essence of good governance. So by rigging the elections, Zanu PF is not only denying the people of Zimbabwe a meaningful say in the governance of the country, it is denying them the benefits of good governance. Let's just listen to a video of a Zanu PF official commenting on the slogan, the regime is trying to impose on the people that it should, Mnangagwa should rule, should go for a third term.
At that slogan, we're looking at the amount of work that has gone and the achievements that have come in towards pushing and moving towards Vision 2030. So we are celebrating the reality that Vision 2030 is going to be attained, if we are lucky, even before the year 2030 itself.
And following that slogan,
yes,
there are a lot of interpretations which are different from what you're saying. Some are saying that the party is not pushing forward to a third term in office of His Excellency. What is the party position on that?
Well, the party does not communicate through slogans. Mm-hmm. If the party has a stance, we know the proper channels through which the party communicates. So these interpretations are not coming from within Zanu PF, because even at the Mashingo rally, the Vice President, Comrade Mohadi, made it clear what the slogan was about, even the provincial chairperson. So to the Zanu PF rank and file, there is nothing untoward about this slogan, because we know it is about celebrating the astute leadership of President Edi. It's about celebrating this leader who has done so much.
Yes. The other quarters, the other political parties, yesterday, MTC had a press conference wholly on that, saying that it's unconstitutional. We have Busha saying that President Edi should actually go forward with the third term. What is the position of the party now? Is there any talks around the third term that people are pushing for?
Well, within ZANU PF, there are no conversations on a third term. And the ZANU PF, like I've said before, we refuse to have conversations imported into our party. We have so much conversations.
Benjamin, welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. And to our viewers, good day to you all.
What do you think of this Vision 2030?
For me, I honestly do not see any vision whatsoever. I would say, just in short, I would just say, when somebody lies for so long, you become deluded from the truth. and sometimes to an extent that even you yourself start believing in the nonsense that you are preaching, and that is a very, very dangerous place to be, where you now believe your own lie. There is no vision 20. I mean, the conditions to attain what they want, or what they are preaching is impossible with the current situation that we are seeing on the ground, unless they're just going to say, we're just going to get up, on the 1st of January 2030, and find a bolt from the blue, and everything is set for for the best Zimbabwe possible. There is no groundwork. You cannot see. I mean, we are already past halfway, right, of Mnangagwa's term, and I don't know who's going to finish off the next 2 years to attain that, Vision 2030. It's just madness. It's just simple madness. Somebody that is just deluded from the truth.
I think what I find annoying here is this is a regime that can say whatever it likes, do whatever it likes, because they know they're not accountable to the electorate. If the elections were free, fair, and credible, and they had won the majority, they can speak with confidence then. The elections were not free, fair, and credible. Zanu PF rigged those elections. And therefore, then afterwards, they can say whatever they like. They're not accountable. That is the principle, the main problem here. As long as you're not, at the end of the day, you're not accountable. You can promise the moon on a silver platter and deliver hell. And you'll get away with it. Because you're not accountable. That is the whole point. Zanu PF's arrogance will never change. And that is the truth. And that is where we are. And I think that is where people of Zimbabwe must realize, as long as you've got a regime that has got carte blanche powers to rig elections and ignore the views of the people on the coalface who are feeling the consequences of their misrule, they will do anything and come back tomorrow and saying, oh, it's the people. They're doing it for the people. They are following the people's will. That is where we have got a problem here. There's no point in discussing this vision 2030. I mean, if it was, if we were driving from Gweru to Harare, for instance, there are mileposts along the way. Even if you forget the kilometer and half kilometer markers, if you're driving from Gweru to Harare, if you doze off and then wake up, you can ask, have we gone past Kwekwe? Because those are the markers that shows you're going in the right direction. If you've gone past Kadoma, Chekutu, and so you can see you're making progress. To keep on saying that the economy will suddenly boom in 2030, and yet at the present moment, all the signs are that the economy is in total meltdown, is totally nonsensical. This is a regime that knows they can say anything they like and they will get away with it because they know they are not democratically accountable. And that's why I must repeat that point. Elections are not just a fundamental right. They are the very essence of good governance. And at the present moment, as long as we have got a system, a regime that knows it has got carte blanche powers to rig elections, nothing is going to change. We'll be stuck with a regime that is corrupt, incompetent, and they can say whatever they like, and they know they can get away with it. That, to me, Benjamin, is the biggest problem we have here.
Yes, this is why I agree with you. On what you are saying, and if I may add, this is why I emphasize. Say, I think Zanu PF is deluded. They're out of touch with reality because, first of all, they, like you said, rightfully said, they rig the elections, so they do not know what is called the will of the people. They're not in touch with their people, with their electorate, to find out what exactly is happening on the ground. I am sure they know what is happening, but because of selfish and arrogance that is driving them, they're out of touch. Surely I am sure, like you said, there are sign markers as you are going. There are signposts that show you that, okay, at certain point you are close to this town, or you're going in the right direction towards that. What do we have that shows that we are going towards that? Surely there's nothing, because right now we are seeing, the poverty line is still dropping. People are struggling, and make matters worse, they're struggling. You're still taxing them on that small little struggle they have. And you've gone after their houses. That's the only. It's just, the list is so long. You can just see that Zanu PF is just out of touch with reality. In short, you would say this is what you call madness.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, like I've got to emphasize it, while we attribute it to Zanu PF, we've got also to attribute it to the opposition, and then thirdly, to the ordinary people themselves. This is a commentary that has been circulating. It's the caption there at the top is archaeologists in 3023 discovering the remains of a Zimbabwean man. I think in many ways it's humorous, and at the same time should be a stern reminder of where we are. This is the problem with the Zimbabwe mentality. This, to me, is a skull of an individual with his mouth wide open. In 2023, here is the Zimbabwean individual who voted in the 2023 elections for two basic reasons. The number one was that he was stretching out his hand, expecting handouts of one piece of chicken plus chips from Zanu PF. And that was the reason why he attended the rallies and then voted for the regime. And the other reason is, of course, he's an individual who participated in the 2023 elections because they believed Chamisa promised that there would be change. And were convinced that Chamisa had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. And that's why they participated in numbers. According to ZEC's own figures, Chamisa got nearly 2 million voters. So this is, to me, a skeleton of a man. If we think of him as Zanu PF, begging for chicken, piece of chicken and chips. If we think of him as an opposition supporter, crying for change, begging for change that never came. That is the problem with Zimbabwean society. We really failed to think for ourselves. Both of those two voters shot themselves in the foot in the sense that they participated in a flawed election process, which they were warned. It's not as if they were not warned. They were warned several times that if you participate in these flawed elections, you only give Zanu PF legitimacy. And now you've granted them legitimacy. The regime is boasting of, oh, we'll deliver to you Vision 2030. And of course, Chamisa and company have been suddenly quiet on why CCC failed to win big after promising people that they would win big. But at the heart of it is the Zimbabwean people ourselves. We are failing to think for ourselves. And unless we snap out of that, I honestly don't think we'll ever have any meaningful change in Zimbabwe.
I agree with you. You know, for change, like you are saying, to come through or to exist, it's being able to think for yourself, to think outside the box. You know, not to just follow whatever you are being told and take it at face value. I mean, look at this 2030. 2030 will come and pass. And probably knowing Zanu PF, because they're so delusional, they will probably show you a few highways that they are building right now and a few bridges that have since been, you know, swept away by the water. Unfortunately, we just had a drought and some have just survived this year. But by 2030, if there's good rains, all those would be gone. This is what they are going to be selling. Is that sufficient for us? What benefit is it to us, right? So this is where it comes to. We should be able to think, and think outside the box, not just think, but think outside the box. Zimbabwe is, funny enough, Zimbabwe is deemed to be, one of the very well educated countries, but you find out that I don't know what we have reduced ourselves to, such that we are being taken, for fools, being sold such foolishness, and we clap and we sing towards that. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, my concluding remark is people get the government they deserve. If we seriously believe that after 23 years, 5 of which in the GNU, the opposition is doing a good job, then we deserve this regime. Because there's no doubt about it. The ordinary people, power, real power in Zimbabwe to change things actually is in the hands of the ordinary people. But to exercise that power, you must use your head. Begging all your life is not going to get you out of this. We need to accept the reality that after 23 years, 5 of which in the GNU, the opposition has failed to implement the democratic reforms necessary to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. And not only that, the opposition have been participating in these flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed and that participating will only give legitimacy to the regime. And so why have we allowed this to continue? We cannot blame anybody else for this. We've got to blame ourselves. And in this particular case, change will only come, meaningful change will only come if we, the people of Zimbabwe, seriously take up the challenge of finding a competent opposition leaders who will implement the democratic reforms so that we finally cure ourselves of the double curse of rigged elections and bad governance. That is my final word to everybody tonight. Thank you very much for listening. Benjamin, you can put in your closing remarks.
I think you've done justice in explaining both ways that it's not just Zanu PF that is selling a pipeline dream, but also the opposition that would actually think that they would win rigged elections when you know that the referee, who is Zek, is part and parcel of Zanu PF. So that was just one other madness that we shouldn't have even dragged ourselves into. And now here we are, we're having to enjoy yet another 5 years of a madman in charge. I think that is the lowest we can possibly get. But there's still hope if only we can, put our act together and start seeing and visualizing and thinking for ourselves. That is the only way we can get, ourselves out of this mess. Nobody is going to get us out. Forget about SADC. Forget about any other country. It is you and I that will do this. But we only can do this if we start thinking outside the box, evaluating, asking questions before we just agree and we are on off. It just cannot continue going on like this. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. And to the listeners, thank you very much. I hope you can join us again tomorrow, 6 p.m. UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwe time. Thank you and good night.